Donald Trump has his new pick for Attorney General after Matt Gaetz dropped out.
While this is sad news for Gaetz and his fans, it is potentially very exciting news for Judge Jeanine Pirro, who will be our next Attorney General. Poor Rudy Giuliani. He has to be on the twin bed in the office his son converted into a guest room right now going, what about me?
Trump is now choosing his longtime ally and the former Florida Attorney General, Pam Bondi. Trump allies telling CNN they are breathing a sigh of relief, believing that Bondi will face a much easier confirmation process than Matt Gaetz. Bondi, who became Florida's top prosecutor at the height of the Tea Party movement, has a reputation as an effective litigator. She served as a member of Trump's impeachment defense team, and she joined him on the campaign trail. Bondi has also spent a lot of time on the president-elect's favorite news channel.
This is just one big press conference trying to smear Donald Trump, trying to hurt Donald Trump.
It's really unbelievable what they're doing.
Right.
They are obstructing the candidate, President Donald Trump.
The Department of Justice, the prosecutors will be prosecuted, the bad ones. The investigators will be investigated because the deep state, last term for President Trump, they were hiding in the shadows. But now they have a spotlight on them, and they can all be investigated.
All right, joining us now, criminal defense attorney and former prosecutor Mark O'Mara. He knows Pam Bondi from her time as Attorney General. Mark, I'm so grateful to have you on the show this morning. Thank you so much. What can you tell us? I first got to cover Pam Bondi back in 2012 when she was a surrogate for Mitt Romney when he was running for the Republican nomination. What can you tell us about her evolution, and most importantly, what it would mean for her to be at the top of the Department of Justice, considering what former President Trump, has said he wants to do with the department?
Well, first I had several cases against her with Ms. Bondi way back in the day when she was a line prosecutor. First and foremost, she's a prosecutor. She's a good trial attorney, formidable in a courtroom, quite honestly. Now, as an attorney general, she's not going to show up in a criminal courtroom very often, but she does have that ability, that style, and that presence that I think is going to serve her very well as the attorney general.
So, Mark, how would you say her experience stacks up for the job that she has been nominated for? Because there have been sort of two parallel tracks here as we've been trying to cover Trump's nominees for these positions. Some of them have very problematic personal issues. Matt Gaetz is a good example, the one who obviously just was pulled to make way for Bondi. But the other is questions about, okay, what experience do you bring to the job? Does it line up with the types of experience that others have brought to the job in the past? How does Bondi's experience stack up in terms of others who have also been attorneys general of the United States?
Well, if I compare it to the most recent nominee, Matt Gaetz, they are worlds apart. Matt Gaetz, I don't think had any experience in a courtroom, no real trial experience. And although trial experience in and of itself isn't necessary for the job, the idea of being comfortable in a courtroom and presenting yourself, it has become pretty apparent, not only when she was a prosecutor over in Hillsborough County, but since that she has a great presence. And after all, the attorney general job is sort of just that. So I think she, comparing to Gaetz, also comparing to some of the other nominees for the other positions, she has the pedigree. She truly does, because she's, again, been in a courtroom, presents very well. I think she's going to be an easy nominee approval by the Congress, because she doesn't have some of the downside, it seems, that people like Mike Gaetz may have brought into it. So I think it's going to be a pretty smooth, and if you compare her to all the other candidates, I think she's going to be an easy choice to be approved.
Mark, one of the other things that Bondi did in the course of her time working on behalf of Donald Trump was lawsuits related to the 2020 elections and what she has said about who won that election, namely that Joe Biden didn't win the election, that Donald Trump did. Let's play a little bit of a few of the things that she said in the course of that, and I'll ask you about it on this side. Watch.
We are still on the ground in Pennsylvania. I'm here right now, and we are not going anywhere until they declare that we won Pennsylvania. We know that ballots have been dumped. There were ballots that were found early on. We've heard that people were receiving ballots that that were dead. You know, the thing that's happening all
Were
over
they
the
legal
country.
ballots?
It is about the integrity of this election. And every vote, as Mayor Giuliani said, in every state must be counted fairly. We need to fix this. We need to remedy this now because we've won Pennsylvania and we want every vote to be counted in a fair way.
So, of course, we know that Donald Trump did not win Pennsylvania in 2020. What does her role here have? What kind of implications does it have going forward if she's confirmed as Attorney General?
Well, again, I've had problems and troubles with the election deniers just because of my view of it from not a political, but from a legal standpoint. Everything we've looked at, everything that was vetted out seemed as though the election was properly done. And yes, it is somewhat problematic, generally speaking, that any candidate, attorney general, or any other cabinet member who still maintains this concern. But let's face it, she is sort of also preaching to the choir of who is now going to be our next president. That was always the position of Donald Trump. It's never going to change from that. I find it concerning because the attorney general is the lead of not only the Department of Justice, but when you hear about the justice system in America, you think about the attorney general. Has to be trusted, has to be believed, has to be respected, so that we know that we can place our trust. Every one of us can place our trust in her and therefore place our trust in the criminal justice system. So a little bit troubling, and I'm hopeful that she's going to move forward as an attorney general, not just as a continued election denier, because it is problematic for the trust in the system.
Yeah, trust in the system, of course, being the key, one of these foundational things we've all just been grappling with as a country for the last, I guess, going on a decade now since Donald Trump emerged on the stage. Mark O'Mara, thank you very much for your time this morning. I really appreciate it. All right, our panel's here. Molly Ball, senior political correspondent for the Wall Street Journal. Dana Milbank, political columnist for the Washington Post. Kate Bedingfield, CNN political commentator, former Biden White House communications director. And Brad Todd, CNN political commentator, Republican strategist. Welcome to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. Brad, you know, I think you said it here first a couple of days ago that there was no way Matt Gaetz was going to go through. And clearly, there were probably way more than just 4 people who were going to oppose this nomination.
8, 12, 14. I mean, I think he had a real problem. And it was obvious to everyone. And I think they knew that when they nominated Matt Gaetz. Matt Gaetz now hopes to get out of the ethics report coming out in the House. He gets to go home, having proven he's close to Donald Trump, maybe mount a run for governor of Florida. So in the end, everyone may get a consolation prize. You know, maybe like The Price is Right. You take something home.
Pam Bondi, Molly Ball, has been on the political scene. I first covered her when she flew around with Mitt Romney and campaigning in Florida. I think those of us who, you know, we were texting each other about this development last night, because not necessarily something that had been expected. But I mean, to Brad's point, she compared to Matt Gaetz, that comparison is, you know, they're worlds apart, even if there might be people who would raise questions about her nomination.
Well, and although she has those, as you say, more establishment bona fides than a Matt Gaetz, she also is someone who has been a Trump loyalist, right? She was very early to endorse him in 2016 when a lot of people in Florida were on board with other candidates, when Trump was viewed much more skeptically. And she's been loyal to him throughout, you know, defending him in the impeachment, as you noted before. So I think she is viewed as someone who can sort of bridge the traditional Republican establishment and sort of MAGA world, because she obviously has been very loyal to Trump, and but she has more traditional experience. So particularly compared to someone like Matt Gaetz, who had barely practiced law, the fact that she has actually been a state attorney general for 2 terms, that she has done the more traditional, you know, has prosecutorial experience and that sort of thing, I think is going to really warm the hearts of a lot of Republican senators who were having so much heartburn over Matt Gaetz, and who frankly didn't know where to start with him. You know, was it the lack of qualifications that was most disturbing? Was it the ethics stuff? Was it other stuff? Was it his, you know,
By
conflicts
ethics stuff, you
with
mean possibly having sex with a minor?
all of that?
Possibly
yes.
multiple occasions. Yeah.
Yes.
Dana?
Well, look, I don't want to attribute any strategy to the president-elect here, but it is kind of genius to put Matt Gaetz out there as sort of a stalking horse. And anybody you put up after that is going to look reasonable. So I think a little bit of that is what's happening here. I mean, overall, he's set up. It's largely a vanity project, right? It's an administration full of loyalists. It's a lot of Fox News contributors. So in a vacuum, I think we'd be saying, wow, I mean, none of these guys seem to have any particular relevant experience for the job. But I mean, as somebody who's worried about what the Trump administration may be doing, I'm saying, well, thank God for that, because there's not necessarily a whole lot of competence.
But he should
there.
get loyalists. He should, right? No president doesn't go for loyalists.
Well, sure. I mean, you kind of segue into what I was going to say, which is yes, she absolutely benefits from not being Matt Gaetz. I mean, you want to follow the person who went down in flames. That you're going to benefit by comparison, but I don't think we should lose sight of the fact. I mean, she was an ardent 2020 election denier. I mean, there are still fundamental questions about whether somebody being appointed to run the Justice Department should be somebody who's willing to just blatantly lie on behalf of the president. And so, yes, obviously Matt Gaetz's character flaws, shall we say, and complete lack of experience for the job makes her look better by comparison, but she is still somebody who has been willing to just lie when Trump asks her to, and I think that should be of concern to people.